Hello and welcome to Master of the Game, the program on which we bring you the movers, shakers, icons and legends of our beloved motherland Ghana. My name is Dakwa, Kwesi Che Dakwa, and this morning I'm delighted to be united with a fine gentleman who I personally know. He has a fantastic upbringing and an education too, raised by a former Supreme Court judge of Ghana and his beloved wife, with his brothers and sisters as well, and now working as a lecturer, a lawyer, a civic educator, and vice chairman of the National Commission for Civic Education. Please welcome Mr. Victor Kofi Broby. Akwa.
Thank you. Very pleased to be here.
I must start by saying I noticed your very beautiful cufflinks. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You know that's a Dinkra symbol.
Oh, very much so.
You're a master of the law, I'm a master of the culture.
No doubt.
It says, Funtum funefu denchem funefu. When the furu yeba kope, nansu wodidia na woku. Which is to say, the two-headed crocodile, they have only one stomach. But when they are eating, they fight over the food. Why? It's because everybody wants to taste something sweet on their tongue. Exactly. Is that where Ghana is at the moment? Are we fighting even though we have only one stomach?
Well, I wouldn't put it in that way, because that makes things look somewhat worse than they actually are. We are in a moment of political contestation. And,
contestation, isn't that a fight?
Exactly, but fighting suggests a much deeper level of contestation involving a fair amount of negativity.
Gladiators,
or worse. But with contestation, it can be a contestation of ideas, for example, of principles, or of ways in which the country should go from a policy perspective. All those things can be contested, and it can be done in a very sort of reasonable, rational, and mostly peaceful way. Yes, it is about differences, political differences in this particular moment, but hopefully it's being done in a very civilized and organized way.
That's very, very hopeful, the way you put it, because the picture on the ground is often not so fine. Too many people being cantankerous, too many people being belligerent, but you are vice chairman of a sector that is supposed to help us learn civic education. Tell me about your role as a vice chairman for the National Commission for Civic Education.
Sure. Well, the Civic Education Commission was set up by the Constitution of Ghana. So in 1992, we've been in existence now for 32 years. It was set up at a time that you'll recall, given that I've been watching you for 30 plus years, and I'm also
you make me feel old.
Well, I'm not young myself, so it's but given where we were in the 1980s, when we returned to democracy, the makers of the Constitution felt it was necessary to create a body that will inform and instruct Ghanaians about their civic rights and their civic responsibilities. So that is a job that the Constitution gives the Civic Education Commission. It creates a nationwide commission. In other words, we are in all 16 regions, 260 plus districts. We have staff in all those districts, and our job is to inform the Ghanaian public about the Constitution, about what it means to be a citizen, about what your responsibilities as a citizen are, about your rights, and about our democracy. So, of course, this being an election year, we have our work cut out for us to remind Ghanaians about what their responsibilities as voters are. It's an independent commission in that once you serve on it, like the Electoral Commission, like the Human Rights Commission, you're not allowed to have any form of political affiliation. Once you're an executive member of the commission, you essentially have to step back from all of the activities and focus on your independent function to produce neutral public education on civics.
So, of course, you vote. There's no way you would say you don't vote when you're on the NCCE. But from what you say, then it means anybody who has shown their face to be politically active should not be appointed to serve on SHRAJ, to serve on the Electoral Commission, and to serve at the NCCE. Is that correct?
That is correct. That should ideally be the case, yes.
And in the event that a president, surrounded by the people who work for him, maybe forgets and mistakenly appoints somebody who is politically active. And when I say politically active, somebody who has shown his face and colors by, for instance, standing for an election as a member of parliament for a particular party. Would it be right for such a person to be called back and out of the position, or should we just let them continue serving?
Well, that would not be ideal. And I'm sure that in the event that happens, there will be potential steps that those that identify the anomaly can take, including redress to our legal system. In the event that there is no withdrawal, for example, of the person who's been appointed. But ideally, for these positions within our constitutional setup, our Media Commission, our SHRAD, our Electoral Commission, our Civic Education Commission, these positions should be held by neutral persons.
So that is to say, if you are in a career and you're an outstanding performer or practitioner in your field of endeavor, you may not be serving yourself well if you choose to run as a politician. Because if you don't make it as a politician, other positions that you are eligible to be in and other, say, institutions that you are eligible to lead, you block your chances there.
Absolutely. So it's a choice that an individual must make when you decide to go into public service, particularly public service involving political office, because it does make you ineligible for certain roles in the public sector. It's not unusual. Many constitutions, many countries around the world have similar restrictions. Once you go into politics, you are cut off from certain positions. You can't be, for example, an adjudicator, a judge. You can't hold certain other positions that require a certain level of neutrality. You exclude yourselves from that. But that is a calculus that individuals make, and they're aware of this going in. So they can't really complain when these rules are used to restrict them from holding certain positions, after the fact.
Unfortunately, we've had situations where people who are politically exposed have been appointed, but that's not the matter for discussion today. I'd like to look at your background and your childhood. You speak so well, very well composed. In our pre-chat, I just found a very fine gentleman in you. Tell me about your upbringing and education.
It's somewhat unusual. Began in Ghana, Christ the King. My father was a judge, a circuit court judge then, but was appointed by the Commonwealth to go to Zimbabwe, which was then newly independent, to assist them with their legal system, to help them to set up particularly lower courts, magistrate courts, circuit courts throughout the country. So we were there for a period of time. So much of my formative years were actually spent in Zimbabwe, in Harare, in St. George's College.
In the land of Robert Mugabe.
In the land of Robert Mugabe. Robert Mugabe was the early version of Robert Mugabe, I'll put it that way.
The statesman.
The statesman, exactly. The well-respected international statesman, even though arguably, I guess he remained that way even after even after it became more controversial.
Yeah.
But yes, this is Zimbabwe in the 1980s, going all the way to the early 1990s, thereabouts. After that, he returned to Ghana. I continued my education at the Ghana International School in cantonments.
Oh, that's not too far from our studios.
Very close, actually, walking distance. And we were living in Labonia at the time, so actually in those days, on occasion, particularly on Fridays when we had sports, I would walk home from the school past this very road to my place of residence. After Ghana International School, I entered the Faculty of Law because I had decided from my mid-teens that I wanted to be a lawyer.
That you wanted to be like your father, essentially?
In the manner of speaking, yes. Well, there was that. But really, the truth of the matter is that I was not particularly good at science, the sciences and mathematics. And when you're not good at science and mathematics, your life is sort of, your career choices become more limited, I'll put it that way.
No, more geared towards the humanities.
Well, yes.
A nicer
more
way
geared
to
towards,
put it.
yes, exactly. And so in the humanities, I felt that the role or the profession that suited me the most was the law.
You did literature?
I did literature.
What did you like about it?
Everything. Everything. I mean, there are still books that I read as a literature student in school that I sort of refer to today, that I still enjoy, that I go back to, particularly the Shakespeare's.
Any quote that you were very influenced by?
Narratives that I can say that I'm influenced by. For example, we read a book called The French Lieutenant's Woman when I was in lower six. And what I took away from that book was that there are no real heroes in this world. There aren't any really good or bad people per se. Everybody has a good or bad side. The world is not black and white. The world is gray. And I took that lesson from that book into my legal career in a sense, and even the post-legal career. Not to be too harsh, to be too judgmental. People take decisions based on their circumstances at a particular time, and not to sort of judge people on things that happen to them at any particular moment, because that was really what happened to the main character in that book. A good guy, did some terrible things, but still clearly is a good guy and should be seen as such.
So to go back to the French Lieutenant's Woman, we have a number of people contesting to be president of Ghana. Everyone professing their goodness, but in reality, nobody's perfect.
No, nobody's perfect. And really, the choice of a candidate really should not be seen as looking for the perfect candidate. It should be looking for the candidate whose views and whose policy positions best align with your own. That is what you're looking for. That is what the voters should be looking for. If you're looking for the perfect candidate, you'll never vote, because there's no such thing as a perfect candidate. But there are candidates who may have policy positions or who may have done things in your past that you relate to, and that should be the reason that you vote for that particular candidate.
With me on Master of the Game is the one and only Victor Kofi Broby. And when we come back, we're going to be talking more about what the National Commission for Civic Education does for Ghana and all its citizens. Only on Master of the Game right after this. The discerning audience, the knowledgeable, the stylish, and the classy get together to enjoy Master of the Game. Master of the Game brings you distinguished personalities, leaders, achievers, captains of industry, innovators, masterful storytellers, creatives, and entertainers. All hosted by the Master of the Game, His Royal Blackness, KKD. Catch Master of the Game on CTV. Oh yes, nuggets of inspiration and delightful treats for your enjoyment. Whether you love power, money, beauty, or fame, there is so much to learn from Master.
Located in the heart of the Ghanaian capital, the 4-star Accra City Hotel is the country's gateway for business, tourism, and entertainment. As soon as they walk in, guests are greeted with a smile. Accra City Hotel offers first-class stylish rooms, plus amenities that include a charming pool area to play and relax, and a lively food and cocktail bar.
We realize that customer service is key. Customers always want new experiences. So as the business is developing, we have to look at other areas to make our guests more satisfied, to let them come back.
Accra City Hotel has 6 fully equipped conference rooms for events and celebrations with all-inclusive catering. With a warm and dedicated staff, exquisite dining, and all services needed for visitors to feel at home, every stay in Accra City Hotel is a return invitation to Ghana.
Your election stronghold is here again with the most comprehensive election coverage.
The moment to choose between Reset, Upgrade, and the others. We are your trusted source to give you a comprehensive coverage.
And Class Media Group is your most reliable and trusted source to give you the best analysis.
We've put together a strong team of reporters across all constituencies to bring you the breaking news.
Experienced presenters for all the unbiased in-studio discussions with very knowledgeable experts.
Ababia yebenya edefi polling stations ahodwa awo Ghana for na yebenya mre ni asone so krojen amemu ate ni ye dia somo
enti ye die libedi abato n'echi na ne ebepie wa abato mu bia no yamamwe hunu kaye ho e wa kra 100.5 FM class 91.3 FM CTV, Ghana's #1 television, and after classfmonline.com. Your affiliate stations are good working which your Ghana have Biano or Sabakaye.
About to ombre, some who about to know Sanswa, Pasua full of Class Media Group, your election strong group.
With me is Victor Kofi Bobby, Vice Chairman of the National Commission for Civic Education, and if there is ever a moment in time when the whole nation needs them, that moment is now. They're talking it to us about what to expect and what to do for peaceful elections. That's why I have this gentleman here today. So tell me about the programs that the NCCE has laid out since the beginning of the year till now to ensure that the Ghanaian is well informed about the upcoming elections.
Sure. So essentially, our programming since January has been tailored towards making it more likely that our elections are peaceful. The way in which we operate is to go into the district, go into the communities, and speak to various groups within the communities, on market women, in churches, also professional groups, children in schools. For example, we have civic education clubs in a number of schools, secondary schools and primary schools throughout the country, and basically going to people in the communities or wherever they are, wherever we can find them. So, for example, 3 weeks ago, we were at Afrikiko during the Kizomba session, talking to the audience there.
When they were dancing Kizomba?
Yes, exactly. They gave us 5 minutes to talk to them about civic education. And our message basically is to just encourage people to be peaceful, to vote, because we've seen some softening when it comes to let me put it this way: support for democracy in Ghana. We are encouraging people to focus on the right things when it comes to voting choices. So for example, we've noticed that in this cycle, and actually in the last few cycles, there has been quite an excessive monetization of our politics. We are trying to discourage that. We are trying to tell citizens that that should not be the reason that you vote for candidate X or candidate Y.
Well, in communities where people are poor and, for want of a better word, left over, if somebody comes who they believe is not a good enough person to lead the country, but the person comes with a box of food, canned foods, and little amenities that they need, what is the citizen to do?
It is absolutely a challenge, given our economic constraints and given the fact that we've come through a period of economic challenge. I mean, if you do show up in a remote constituency in Ghana and you start sort of sharing 50 cedi notes, it is going to have an impact on how people behave. So we have to discourage the candidates from doing that. We have to remind the candidates that those actions are actually prohibited by the law, and that they are even potentially criminal offenses. We have to remind the citizens that you should not use that as a basis for your electoral choices.
So for want of a better word, you're saying to the villagers, if they bring you food, take it, but let not that be the reason why you vote for them. To put it plain and simple, is that what it is?
Well, we're not putting it quite that way. Because we have to acknowledge
No, they
that
brought food. The man is hungry. The man needs food. Somebody has brought him food.
Yes.
He does not believe that person will do well for the country. For if he would do well for the country, he wouldn't need to come and buy his vote. So why is it too difficult for us to tell men and women on the ground, tell them, if somebody brings you a basket of goods, take it, use it, but that should not be the reason why you vote for them. Vote your conscience.
Well, because for us as a civic education institution, that will essentially be aiding and abetting a criminal offense, for one thing, you know.
So then why don't you say, don't take it and be hungry?
No, we don't take it. We don't say don't take it and be hungry, but we do tell them not to take it because obviously
but if they
it's
don't
problematic.
take it, they'll be hungry.
Yes, but it's one has to look at the bigger picture when it comes to our politicians. You should be looking more at public goods rather than private goods. So vote for the person that can make your entire community better rather than just your individual circumstances better. You know, that should be the
You put
calculus.
it so well. I want you to repeat that. Say that line again.
We encourage politicians that focus on public goods that benefits the entire society in which they are getting votes in respect of, and whether it's at the constituency level or the national level. And when you prioritize that, it increases the likelihood that the politician would have a positive impact on a broader range of individuals, as opposed to political actors that focus on providing private goods to individuals. The guys that would attend your funeral and maybe give you money here and there to do one or two things that benefit you personally. Those types of actions have much smaller impacts than the...
I want to ask you this as a layman to a lawyer. The politician that carries these goods to go and distribute to individuals just when it's about time to vote. Is it fair to call them somebody who is engaging in bribery and corruption?
Well, the technical electoral terms created by our statutes are words like treating and inciting, sort of creating disincentives for proper voting choices. They don't technically refer to them as bribery and corruption, even though there's a way in which it can be viewed in that lens. But it is problematic.
Victor, you can't agree. Obi ma obi. What is that? Can you cheat?
When you put it like that, sort of taking it out of voting specifically and into the broader context, yes, that is one of the ways in which you can describe.
But voting should be in the broader context. In fact, the most important aspect of the broader context. Because you're choosing somebody who can change the destiny of a nation.
Absolutely.
You're choosing somebody based on their honesty and competence. And if that person, knowing full well that they have helped to make you hungry, will now come to you and induce you with the very things they have deprived you of, and now say, take it and go and vote for me, why can't we call it bribery and corruption?
Well, well, I'll put it this way. I mean, there are increasingly certain public agencies and certain sort of law enforcement actors that are seeing it more as such. So, for example, I'm sure you're aware of the special prosecutor's statement recently to political actors, reminding them that they should not be engaging in those kinds of activities. But yes, whatever we call it, this is a problem for our democracy. Fortunately, one of the things that we do at the NCCE is research. And our pre-election research survey showed that only 10% of the electorate is willing to be swayed by money, essentially. Only 10% of the people that we interviewed, and we interviewed people over the country, admitted that, yes, if you give me money, I'll vote for party X or party Y. The other sort of 90% basically said that, no, we're aware that this is happening. We've seen it in some instances. We've been offered in some instances, but we are not moved by it. And we are.
But my dear Vice Chairman of the NCCE, you know this country doesn't have an electoral college. You win the election with 50% plus 1.
Yes.
So if only one person says, I am willing to accept money and vote for whoever gives me money, the entire nation is corrupt.
Yes, I mean, 10% is still a fairly high figure, but you're not going to win any election with just 10%. No matter what you do, you are going to have to come up with another 40% plus 1 to put on your platform to get over the line. And so this should remind the political actors that what you need to actually win is your policies. What are you going to do for the people? What are you going to actually put in place to make their lives better? And if you're not able to demonstrate that in a persuasive way, you're not going to win. Because as you said, there's no electoral college. Once you get 50% plus 1, then you win.
Does the National Commission on Civic Education have a duty or responsibility to speak to the citizenry if anybody who is trying to win an election is telling blatant lies?
Yes, in a manner of speaking, particularly if the lies that they are telling affect the electoral process. So, for example, there was a radio presenter in Kumasi, I'm sure you've heard of this incident, who was basically misinforming the public about the voting process, saying
when
that
to vote.
when to vote.
I mean, to think that somebody could do that, I'm like...
It was pretty shocking. So for that kind of electoral lie, we had to issue a statement and sort of point out how ridiculous what you were saying was. Unfortunately, the police rightly arrested him, and he's been